Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about my top 15 cards for Commander from 2023. So these are all new cards that were introduced within 2023, not, reprints or anything like that, just completely new cards. There's some really nice ones in here. I've only ranked the top 3. The other ones, while they're great, they're kind of like, they're all interchangeable. Like in some examples, some of them could be number 4, some examples, some of them could be number 15. So I didn't want to go too heavily into kind of completely ranking them, but the top 3 I think are worth kind of ranking them. First, we've got some honorable mentions in here, like Cast Into the Fire, with it being able to allow you to exile stuff, which means you can bypass like certain indestructible artifacts with that. You've got Golza here allowing you to chuck out all your hand from whenever he enters the battlefield, chuck out all those creatures onto the battlefield and just play a million cards at once. You've got Alish Norn Mummy there, making it so that way all of your enter the battlefield effects and trigger twice. Enemies enter the battlefield effects don't trigger at all. Really great card. Kangabloom, allowing you to be able to sacrifice it to destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or proliferate, which is really nice. And then you've got Tishana's Tide Binder there, letting you counter a target activated or triggered ability, but also just completely erasing the abilities of whatever she counters. So, she counters any card, then they're not going to have their abilities anymore, which is really nice. And it's not just countering that ability, it's countering, it gets rid of all their abilities except for the mana abilities, which is really nice. So these are their honorable mentions. So, the fact that these are really strong cards and, honorable mentions should go to show that the actual list is really good. There's some really great cards on there. So before we get into it though, I just want to ask you guys, please feel free to subscribe. We're going to hit 1,000 subscribers at the moment. We're up to 591, which isn't too bad given the fact that we only started at the end of October. It's now New Year, new January. We're going to hit this target of 1,000 as soon as possible, so then we can start, making this my full-time channel, I'm hoping. All right, so the first one on this list is Charismatic Conqueror. So this is going to cost you 2. It's going to have Vigilance, 2/2, pretty nice, stats overall. But the part that's great is the ability here. So this is making it so that whenever an artifact or creature enters untapped on the enemy's side, you're going to be able to tap it. Any artifact or creature, not even just non-token ones. So if they get a whole bunch of treasures, you can just tap all of them. If they don't tap them, then you're going to be able to create a white vampire creature token with lifelink. So not just a creature token, not just like a vampire. It's going to have lifelink as well. So it's like a kind of like, do you want that to enter tapped or not? And you just constantly, every time they play an artifact or creature, you're going to be like, hey, you want that tapped, or are you going to let me create this vampire? And then you could just end up with this huge army of vampires based on this. This is going to be really great in not just, vamp heavy decks, lifelink heavy decks, but also into any kind of tokeny kind of deck as well. You've got Mondrak, Glory Dominus. So I've got Mondrak here, but I'm going to give like a side kind of honorable mention here to Ojatak. Very similar cards, both of them. So Mondrak is whenever one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created, while Ojatak is just creature tokens. And Mondrak you can also give indestructible as well by sacrificing 2 other artifacts or creatures, while Ojatak just kind of has that built-in kind of indestructible where you get to flip it and it becomes a land. So both of these are really, really nice. Mondrak is better because of the fact that it's going to double all your tokens, not just creature tokens, but both of them are just really nice cards in nearly any deck. Mondrak, kind of more broad because of the fact there's any token, while Ojatak is just creature tokens, but both of them are really, really nice cards. You've got Broadside Bombardiers here, which I think is just a really nice kind of sleeper strong card. It's got Menace and Haste, 2/2, and then anytime after you deal damage, after you've attacked, you get to sacrifice a creature or an artifact, and it's going to deal damage equal to 2 plus whatever its mana value is. to any target. So, you know, you can sacrifice a decent kind of mana value thing that's kind of had its ETB and it's finished, and then you can get to, you know, just throw it at the enemy, which is really interesting. And I really like this kind of play style. I think that it's going to be a card that's going to be decently strong for a while and can find use in not just obviously pirate decks, but a lot of different decks around, you know, sacking stuff, especially with like a Rakdos deck or something like that. You can find some black-red stuff that's going to be great for sacking. You've got Moonshaker Cavalry. So this one here is a great finisher. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain flying, plus they're going to gain +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So you can come in, you've got this huge army of really weak 1/1 minions or something like that. You can come in, bring it in, and then all of a sudden they've all got flying, they've all got, you know, +3/+3, +6/+6, +8, whatever. You know, it's going to be able to reach some crazy numbers if you've got a really decent board, a really great kind of finishing thing to be able to kind of finish off hopefully everyone and kind of just kind of wipe the board for a little bit. It's only until end of turn, unfortunately. But the fact that you can just, you know, it's in white, which is one of the kind of colors that creates so many tokens, that you should be fine to be able to have a huge amount of creature tokens out with it. You've got the Sword of Fortune Frontier. So this is really interesting. It's going to allow you to create an extra land every time you deal combat damage to a player. It's going to allow you to be able to flip 2 cards, exile the top 2 cards of your library, be able to play them this turn. It's also going to give you protection from red and green, the +2/+2. All of these Sword of blah and blah are really nice. Fortune Frontier is the new one that came out with Phyrexia all will be one, and honestly I think that it's one of the stronger ones and it's really nice. I really love it. My friend actually gave it to me for Christmas and I'm really looking forward to it. I've got like paralysis on which deck to put it into because there's just so many great options for it. We've got Tribute to the World Tree here. So this is a really interesting card because not only is it going to allow you to, you know, draw a card if a creature enters with 3 or greater power, it's also then, if it's not 3 or greater, you get to put 2 +1/+1 onto it. So it's like, you know, something enters, is it strong? Draw a card. If it's not strong, make it stronger. And it's not very expensive either, just 3 green there. You know, there's lots of really great decks that you can potentially build with counters and stuff that this is going to work really well into. Even if not counters, you can put it in like, you know, let's think off the top of my head, maybe like Pantalaza deck or something like that that's chucking out your dinosaurs and everything, where you're just going to be able to draw cards, or, you know, if there's weaker dinosaurs, and it's just when a creature enters the battlefield. It's not even when a creature token or creature non-token or anything like that. So, you know, you're creating non-token creatures, you're creating token creatures, and they're all really weak token creatures, and all of a sudden you're just getting a whole bunch of cards, or you're just putting +1/+1 onto all of them, which is really nice. And it's counters as well. It's not like, you know, just a temporary buff. You've got Etali, Primal Conqueror, that can find use in so many different decks, as well as the fact that when you transform him, he's going to be able to have that poison counter, so just be able to one-shot people. Because, you know, he's going to be able to deal the combat damage. If they have 10 or more poison counters, they lose the game. But because of the fact that Etali is going to be able to apply 11 poison counters, you're just instantly going to be able to wipe people out. Not just that, when he enters the battlefield, you get to exile the cards until you exile a non-land, and then you can cast any number of spells from among the non-land things from everyone. Like, so everyone gets to exile something. It's basically, you know, Etali Primal Storm, except for the fact that it's going to deliberately go for a non-land, as well as from there you get to play them for free, which is really nice. You've got Trample in there too, just to, you know, further kind of drive home just how really great he is. You've got Delighted Halfling here. So Delighted Halfling is really interesting, obviously from Lord of the Rings here. It's got the fact that you can, it's just a mana dork, but it's specifically a mana dork that's designed around legendaries. So you've got add colorless, or you can add 1 mana of any color, and it has to be spent on a legendary. However, that legendary then can't be countered. Making it so that they're uncountable is really nice, just from having like a legendary, you know, just from any legendary. You can cast this with any legendary that you like. I've chucked this into my Mirum deck, so that way Mirum's uncountable or uncounterable, or any of the other, you know, numerous legendary dragons that I've got in that deck. You know, there's lots of really nice stuff in there that you're able to cast, and the fact that it's 1 mana of any color as well. And you don't even need to, like, you know, you can just run this in a mono green deck if you wanted to, because it doesn't show, you know, any colors or anything like that. You can just run in mono green, but you can also find use of this in any kind of deck that's going to have any legendaries, which is nearly everything. Even if you've got, you know, just your commander as a legendary, you've still got that option there. You've got the Orcish Bowmasters, which is probably one of the most expensive freaking cards that have come out this year, making it so that anytime someone draws a card beyond their first card, you're going to be able to deal 1 damage to any target. And it's any target, not just, you know, any target that person has or anything like that. It's any target across the board. And then you get to a mass orc. So you're slowly kind of building up this army, as well as pinging people whenever someone's drawing additional cards beyond their first each time. So this is really interesting, really nice. A lot of cards, a lot of commanders, you know, relatively strong, have a lot of card draw and stuff built into them. Card draw is pretty important within Commander, because, you know, just having more cards means more options. So kind of punishing that is really interesting. This is the kind of thing that I would expect to have seen from like a legendary or a commander or something like that. And to be able to have it just on a normal, you know, dork is really nice. A normal creature is really nice. And the fact that he's got flash as well, so you can just flash him out at any time you like. We've got Beseech the Mirror. This felt like they were making a tutor, and then they're like, how can we make it, you know, how can we make it weaker by making it so that way it's, you know, 4 or less? But then they're like, I don't know. This is a really strong card. If you bargain it out, you get to play a card for free without paying its mana cost if it's mana value 4 or less. This is the kind of card that I'm going to chuck into my Amalia deck potentially, because I can just, you know, there's a lot of cards in there that are 4 or less, so I can get to cast them for free by just paying this. And, you know, it's just sacrifice any artifact, enchantment, or token will do. Any artifact, enchantment, or token. You know, it's costing 4 here, so you're essentially getting to cast whatever you tutor out for free, which is really nice. Worst case scenario, you're not able to play it. You don't have to bargain it. If you don't bargain it, you just put it into your hand and be able to play it in the future. You've got that option there. We've got Everybody Lives. So this is from the Doctor Who set, and another decently expensive card. It's going to give all creatures, not just your own, all creatures, hexproof, indestructible. Players gain hexproof. Players can't lose life, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. So this is a way to prevent someone from being able to win the game. This is a way to prevent you getting knocked out of the game. This is to prevent board wipes. This is to prevent someone pinging you. This is to prevent, you know, someone targeting you with some kind of aura or debuff or something like that. There's lots of really great uses for this. This is actually an insanely great card. It's an interesting card. It'll be interesting to see if they do like a universes within version of this, because of the fact that, you know, I think that this is a card that could easily be reprinted. Just like chop out the text down here. Everybody Lives, I think, is a pretty obviously Doctor Who reference, but also just going to be able to be useful everywhere. And there's lots of different lots of different planes they could potentially have this in. It could be easily used elsewhere, and it's just an incredibly strong card, because it's just going to make it so that, you know, a lot of different things that people are going to be able to do besides, you know, unless they're exiling the whole board, they're not going to be able to do it, which means you can just being able to prevent yourself from losing the game is just really strong. We've got Cyber Conversion. Really cheap, really funny removal for someone's commander. It's not going to, like, you know, they've got the commander out. You just make them flip it, and all of a sudden it's just a Cybermen artifact creature. from there, you know, they have to sack it somehow, whether it's going to be blocking, whether it's going to be, you know, doing something. You don't even need to do it to their commander. Just do it to anything. Like, there's lots of different things you can do it for. They're not likely to have a way to be able to flip their commander back over. So, yeah, you've got, you know, that option of just removing their commander without, you know, them being able to really be able to do much. Best case scenario, someone attacks them, they block it, their commander dies, their commander goes back to the command zone. You know, and the fact that this is an instant as well, so you can use it to stop people's combos that they're starting to do or something like that, just be able to completely prevent them. All right, so now for our top three. First of all, number 3, we've got Agatha's Soul Cauldron. This is a universally pretty strong card because of the fact that it's not like, it can fit into a whole bunch of different deck. Creatures you control with +1/+1 tokens are going to have all of the activated abilities of all the creatures that are exiled within this. However, you know, you can go chuck out your +1/+1s onto all of your token creatures you've got. You know, from there, you can then, you know, you can activate any of those because you can spend any mana as though it's any other color. And then from there, you can also exile cards. So you can tap it, exile a card, and then you get to put a +1/+1 onto something if you exile a creature. You know, there's lots of creatures that have really great activated abilities, so you can use this to just steal all the activated abilities from other people's stuff and just allow it so that your army of tokens or your army of, you know, creatures that you've got out there, if they're not necessarily needing to attack right now, they can use some kind of dumb activated ability and be able to just completely, you know, destroy stuff. There's lots of really great uses for this as a combo piece for so many different decks that I don't think anyone's going to argue that this is an incredibly strong card. Number 2, Roaming Throne. I don't know. I can't really say too much about Roaming Throne that we haven't said before. Roaming Throne is like the pet card, my pet card for on this channel. It's a card that I love. I love Typal decks, so I'm pretty happy, or Kindred decks, I can't remember what they're calling it nowadays. And, you know, there's lots of really great uses for this with those, and there's really great uses as long as, you know, you've got some decent quality of, you know, cards that are around the same kind of creature type, or, you know, just even a commander that can abuse it. You're going to be able to make all of those triggered abilities copy an extra time. Mirror is the deck that I absolutely love this in. It's also sitting in my Pantalaza deck as well for all my dinosaurs to be able to trigger additional times. There's also really, really great uses for it. And not just that, like, you know, it's costing 4. It's got 4/4. So it's like, you know, some of those removals that are like, you know, 3 damage and stuff like that, it's fine. And then on top of that, it's also got ward too. So people have to pay additional stuff to be able to even remove it, as well as the fact that ward is a triggered ability. So yeah, there's lots of really great stuff that you can do here. You know, especially if you've got like Mirror out, you can use the triggered abilities on all the wards on the dragons and stuff like that, so people have issues there. So now number 1 is going to be the One Ring. First of all, indestructible. Second of all, 4 cost, pretty cheap. You've got the fact that you're going to gain protection from everything until your next turn when it comes out. You can use this to completely protect yourself for you know, a turn. Then on top of that, you've also got at the beginning of your upkeep, lose 1 life. You know, in Commander, you've got 40 life to kind of play with here. You've got a lot of life to play with. And then from there, you're also going to be able to put a burden counter onto it and draw cards. So you can, you know, you're going to draw 1 card the first turn, but then you can draw additional cards. Commander being able to draw cards is just very integral for this. There's lots of really great stuff you can do with this. There's lots of, you know, if you have some way to be able to blink it in and out of existence, then you can remove those burden counters if they're getting a bit high and you're kind of taking a little bit too much damage. Why not? You know, this is the kind of thing that I should probably add into my Amalia deck because I'm going to gain so much life. Why not spend it for more card draw? There's lots of really great stuff you can potentially do with this card as a kind of a a combo piece as well. Lots of really cool stuff that you can potentially pull off with it. It's honestly an incredibly strong card, not just in Commander as well, in any format that it's really legal in. It's going to be a really great, strong card. And I think that, you know, I don't think anyone's going to argue that this is probably one of the strongest cards that was released this year. But yep, that's our list. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Let me know down in the comments. Happy New Year. And again, make sure you do subscribe. We're going to be covering Magic for quite a while, and I love it. And I really want to make this my full-time job. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.